This week, we're at the IRONMAN 70.3 Norway in Haugesund. Get to know the inspirational Michelle Vesterby of Denmark. And find out who else is in the mix for Scandinavian Ironman glory. This time, Ironman takes us to charming Haugesund on the west coast of Norway. A former fishing village turned towards shipping and petroleum in present days. Haugesund proudly hosts Ironman 70.3 Norway for the second time. The swim is held in Lake Skisfernet.
Well, it's very compact because the water is just on the limit how small it can be to host an Ironman event. So we constructed a swim course that has lanes all the way through it, so you more or less feel like you're swimming in a swimming pool. But the water is really deep. It's 27 meters deep, so it's very good quality water to swim in. When they pass on the bike, they will see the old Norway with the stone churches. They will see the new Norway with this shipping industry. And they will see the sea and the mountains, the fjords. So a lot of athletes actually came over to me last year and they just said they wanted to stop the race and just take pictures. So I think that says a lot about how beautiful it is. Well, when you look at the profile, everyone thought it was flat, but it's rolling all the time. You get to soak in the Viking spirit all the way. It gives you goosebumps. The run course carries you through the last 21K. You pass through the finish area 4 times before you finish there the 5th time. So it looks flat, but there are some small hills and you have the cobblestones in the finish area. So it's not that fast that people think. But it's more fun than fast.
Michelle Vesterby is a rising star in the Ironman world. An elite swimmer in her past, she stopped sport altogether for 4 years before starting triathlon aged 24. Aiming for Ironman from the very start, Michelle did 5 full-distance races in her first year, qualifying for the 2012 World Championship, where she finished 12th.
It was a really tough year for me in 2012 because I did my first Ironman. I qualified for Kona, so I did a lot of races to get into the inner circle. And when I was on Hawaii, it was just fantastic. The surrounding, the atmosphere, everything was new. So of course, just to be in the sport and be a pro, everything was just fantastic there and a good experience.
A good experience with a bumpy start though. Some 100 meters into the Kona swim, Michelle lost her goggles and carried on through the salty water with unprotected eyes. How does she cope in situations like these?
My brother, he was multi-handicapped. He died some years ago. He couldn't walk, he couldn't run, he couldn't talk. So he's my mental power. I think it's important that you have some things you can focus on while you're doing the race. If you only have yourself to do it for, then that's not enough when it hurts that much.
The 29-year-old is a former swimmer, but swimming lanes don't prepare you enough for the sometimes rough water battles in Ironman.
Yeah, you should think that my swimming should be my strongest and where I feel most comfortable, but I always look forward to getting out of the water as well, because everyone wants the right position and the right feet in front of them. You have to find a person that's a little bit stronger than you are and then stay there. And that's also the position the girl next to you wants. So it's always a little bit of a fight. You need to have a good technique. So I think it's good to be a good swimmer for this course as well. It looks like it's a little bit bumpy, but it's actually not that bad. So keep the high frequency and then just push it hard.
The morning before the big day, Haugesund's concert hall hosts a race briefing, this time for both age groupers and pros.
It's definitely a big part of the sport. It is that age groupers and pro athletes are all together. You can see the difference. And in the race, the age groupers are really good at cheering at the pros while we are racing. I not always have the energy to cheer on them as well, but if I can send them a smile, I definitely will do that.
In the afternoon before the race, Michelle watches the Tour de France with husband Klaus. 5 years ago, he was the triathlete. Nowadays, he's Michelle's full-time helping hand, technician and supporter.
I was working on Club La Santa on Lanzarote, and I got introduced to the Ironman there, which I was really fascinated by. So I started doing a little bit, but mostly I was hanging out on the disco in my early days. But when I met Klaus, he was actually doing triathlon, and that was the way I got into the sport, because I told him that I was also a triathlete. I wasn't, so I started because of that excuse.
As Michelle prepares her bags for race day, she explains how she keeps her batteries charged.
The nutrition is really important, especially in a race, in a 70.3 race. But it's also hard in a race like this because your pulse is so high. In an Ironman, it's much easier for me to make sure that I get the right nutrition during the race. But in a 70.3, I really have to know that I need 3 bottles of energy during the bike ride, and it has to be empty when I put the bike.
At the press conference, Michelle meets her fellow competitors, Austrian Lisa Huteler and Catriona Morrison of Scotland. In 2013, Huteler has already won 2 70.3 races. I don't come here saying I want to win this race. My goal is to make it to the podium. Everything needs to be perfect for a victory. My competitors are not to be underestimated.
Yeah, I wouldn't come and race unless I did see myself as a contender, and it's about your expectations. I want to meet my personal expectations every time I race.
As a Scandinavian from Denmark, second in 2012, can Michelle count on extra support from the locals?
I expect more support, so that's a pressure on Norway as well. So that's why I'm posting extra much on the 17.3, that I'm one of those, Scandinavia, home girl. So.
Among the age groupers, 2 very special Ironman greats. 6-time world champion Dave Scott, aged 59. And the first woman to ever finish Ironman Hawaii with a prosthetic leg, Sarah Reinhardtsen, facing an unusual challenge.
That carbon fiber, when it lands on that cobble, it's very unforgiving and it kind of bounces me all over the place. So I'm going to expend a lot more energy than the average Ironman running on those cobbles tomorrow. So I really need to manage my energy smartly so I have something left for that final run.
Having a Norwegian mother, 38-year-old Reinhardtsen always wanted to take part in a triathlon in Norway. She can be sure of fervent support from the locals.
Even though they might not be missing a leg, I think when people see me, they can relate because every human has overcome a challenge to get here. It might not be a challenge that you see, but we've all overcome challenges in life. And so I think sometimes when people see me with one leg, they can be inspired or uplifted, or they might even think, wow, if she can do it, I can do it.
Dave Scott attempted his last Ironman in 2001. Working as coach and motivational speaker, he is aiming to finish an Ironman race for the first time in 17 years.
I still enjoy training hard, but to come up to the starting line, I think a lot of people have expectations that, oh, Dave Scott, you're going to be, the champion. And I said, well, not this time. So I think when the gun goes off, I'll be competitive within myself, and if there's other people around me, I know that just my competitive instinct will come out.
It's the evening before the race, and there's one more thing left to do for Michelle. After she racks her bike, joined by fellow competitor Catriona Morrison, it's time for some quality sleep. "6:30 on race day. Drizzle and chilly temperatures welcome the athletes in the transition zone. Like everyone else, Lisa Huteler is busy with last-minute preparations at her bike. While Richie Nichols, one of the favorites in the men's field, is getting ready too. Michelle can't wait to get going.
I've been sleeping really good, 8 hours of sleep, so it's not a problem for me to sleep, so that's good. So a big break this morning, and now ready to go and kick some butt.
As all the athletes move from transition to the swim start, the defending men's champion Philip Ospeley is also in the starting blocks. From the south side of Lake Skisvatnet, athletes will swim 1.9 kilometers in a double U-shaped course before running 50 meters to transition. 8 a.m. and the second ever Ironman 70.3 on Scandinavian soil is underway. More than 1,000 athletes from 38 nations dive into the slightly chilly 18-degree waters. About half the athletes are tackling their first Ironman 70.3, transforming the calm lake into a pool of frenzied activity. Up front, a tight pro field is setting the pace. Among them, Philip Ospeley and Richie Nichols, but also Brad Carlfeld from Australia and America's TJ Tollickson. While the men's lead group is clocking swim speeds of 1 minute 8 seconds per 100 meters, Georgie Rutherford heads the women's field. Just over halfway through the swim, a chase group with Michelle Vesterby, Catriona Morrison and Norwegian Mette Moa are only a few meters behind. Not far off the men, they are clocking speeds of 1 minute 15 seconds per 100 meters. The rest of the field is spread out over the swim course. After 1.9 kilometers of swimming, defending champion Philip Ospeley is first to emerge out of the waters of the Skisvatnet, with his fellow competitors hot on his heels. Barely 2 minutes behind the pros, a legend finishes his swim.
Six-time Ironman world champion, 59 years old and getting out the water without pros.
After 24 minutes, the First Lady gets out of the water. Georgie Rutherford is closely followed by Michelle Vesterby. Not the strongest swimmer, Lisa Huttala is 52 seconds behind at this stage.
Catriona Morrison, she's out the water. Come on!
Fastest in T1, Michelle unracks her bike first. And Sarah Reinertsen is happy to finish her weakest discipline in 42 minutes. Coming up, can Michelle Vesterby increase the gap between her and the powerhouse Lisa Huttala? And will Philip Ospeley defend his title? We are back at the Ironman 70.3 in Haugesund, and athletes on the bike through the rolling hills of western Norway. Taking care on the roads in wet conditions, athletes first do a 70-kilometer loop through the countryside, and then pass the center of Haugesund before embarking on a last 20 kilometers south of town. Early on the bike, Philip Ospeley of the Czech Republic is setting the pace. Just behind him, Richie Nichols from Scotland. But Nichols is closely followed by short course specialist Brad Carlfeld, who catches up with the Scot before long. As the rain keeps falling, we go to the women's race, where Michelle Vesterby is in the lead a couple of kilometers into the bike. However, Catriona Morrison, who was trailing about 30 seconds out of T1, is catching up fast and puts herself ahead of Michelle. Behind them, Lisa Huttala is on a mission, working her way to the front, continually climbing up the leaderboard. Back to the men, where Philip Ospeley is clocking fast times on the rolling hills. In the chase group, Nichols and Carfeld are joined by 70.3 Pescara winner Horst Reichel and American TJ Tollefson. Before long, Tollefson breaks away from the pack. Not even 20k into the bike, Michelle's race for another podium is under threat. Lisa Huttala has caught up with Vesterby and Morrison, flying past the ladies in impressive style. Cheered on by the ever-enthusiastic supporters, Michelle is now in third position on Morrison's heels. But in striking distance, local hero Meta Moe, who has nearly closed the gap on the two chasers. More than halfway through the race, Philip Ospeley has extended his lead. His closest competitor, TJ Tollefson, is almost 2 minutes adrift at 50k. Horst Reichel and the rest of the chase group are trailing the Czech by 3.5 minutes. As Lisa Huttala is speeding towards the 50k mark, she continues to build a gap between herself and her chasers. At this stage, Morrison, Vesterby and Moa are nearly 2 minutes behind the strong Austrian. While Ospeley shows no signs of weakening, as he passes through the centre of Haugesund, TJ Tollefson is unable to keep up with the high pace. He is now closely followed by age grouper Florian Seifert of Germany, who takes second position before long. 2.5 hours into the race, Philip Ospeley dismounts his bike and loses no time in transition. Still in second place, age grouper Florian Seifert. As he enters T2, Richie Nichols is nearly 7 minutes adrift of Ospeley. Will his exceptional running skills carry him any closer to the lead? A shade over 15 minutes later, Lisa Huttala reaches transition. Catriona Morrison is next, closely followed by Michelle Vesterby and Norway's Meta Moe. While the chase group is trailing Huttala by around 4 minutes, the rest of the field is more than 10 minutes back, including faster swimmer Georgie Rutherford. It's a 2-lap, mostly flat and fast half marathon with a few short climbs where athletes can keep an eye on each other en route to the finish at the inner harbour. About 5 kilometers into the run, Philip Ospeley is running at a mad pace. He seems very determined not to let his lead slip away. Behind him, Richie Nichols' catch-up race is in full swing. Age grouper Florian Seifert, who had impressed the pro field with a speedy bike, has no chance against the Scot's powerful strides. In 8th position after the bike, Nichols is now second, less than 1/3 into the run. Not far from the 7.5k mark, Brad Carfeld also passes the ambitious age grouper Florian Seifert. The Australian is now in 3rd position. As the Norwegian summer is showing its prettier face, we go back to the women's race, where Lisa Huttala is struggling a bit to keep up her early pace on the run. While Catriona Morrison appears to be moving with ease, gradually reducing her deficit. And behind her, Meta Moe, who managed to put herself ahead of Michelle Vesterby in the first 1.5k. Michelle is now having a tough time, losing touch with the podium step by step. In the men's race, Philip Ospeley is looking very strong about halfway through the run. At the 10.5k mark, Richie Nichols has reduced his T2 deficit by nearly 2 minutes, and he looks determined indeed to close the gap on Ospeley even further.
Look at this young man run. Come in.
While Brad Carfeld is unable to gain time on the lead, he manages to keep his followers at bay. "11K into the run, Lisa Huteler is slowing. While Catriona Morrison has gained more than 1.5 minutes in the first half of the run. All the more remarkable, considering that the Scot has had an injury, stopping her from running for 18 months. Happy Metamoa remains in third position. In well under 4 hours, Philip Ospeley is carried to the finish line by the enthusiastic Norwegian crowds. The Czech was in control of the race from the beginning to the end, defending his title in a time of 3 hours, 46 minutes, 10 seconds, 1 minute faster than his winning time at the first edition last year. I actually started prepping especially for this race back in June, so I'm back in really good shape. I even don't feel tired today. It's a quote-unquote a pity that my next competition will not be before September, but first place, and I am satisfied. Richie Nichols kept reducing his deficit on the lead, but even the fastest run split of the day, just under 1 hour and 9 minutes, was not enough. Philip Ospeley was simply unbeatable on this day, and Nichols crosses the line about 4 minutes behind him.
I got on the bike and I just couldn't keep with Philip. He was just gone, and then I just felt like everyone kept going past me. So it was a bit demoralising. But yeah, just kept at it, and then I got off the bike trying to salvage something. So I was really pleased with the second.
Your champion, Philip Ospeley, second place, Richie Nichols, third, Brad Carfeld.
Nearly an hour after the men, Lisa Huteler reaches the finish. Following her victories in Mallorca and St. Pölten, the Austrian makes it 3 out of 3 in 2013 with the fastest bike split of the day.
And your second place, lady, is only moments away.
After a half marathon of under 1 hour and 20 minutes, Catriona Morrison crosses the finish line in second, 3 minutes behind Lisa Huteler. The Haugesund locals had plenty to cheer as Norway's Mette Moe claimed third. Almost 10 minutes behind, Michelle Vesterby enjoys her last meters, basking in the support from the crowds. Not in her best shape as she's building up for Kona, Michelle is not entirely satisfied with her 4th place.
I'm of course disappointed because I didn't make the podium today. My swim was really bad today, so that's not good because I know that the girls were strong on the bike and the run, so that was where I needed to have a few minutes. But again, as you can see now, the sun is shining. Their audience has been amazing all the way around, so I enjoyed every minute of it anyway. So yeah, I'm pleased.
3 out of 3 in 2013. The winner of Mallorca, St. Pölten, and now your 2013 Ironman 70.3 Haugesund champion from Austria, Lisa Huteler.
I didn't anticipate my victory in Mallorca at all. In St. Pölten, I felt a slight pressure. Even my boyfriend said I was quite restless. But today I was very relaxed and laid back, looking very much forward to the race. While the age groupers are fulfilling their half Ironman dreams, a legend of the sport has managed to finish his first Ironman in 17 years in well under 5 hours. Sensational for a 59-year-old.
Well, that was very humbling. I didn't feel good on the swim. I felt kind of rough, and ironically, I was kind of by myself. There was a big lead group, the pros, and then me. And and I was waiting for someone to help me along. And then on the bike, I think everyone passed me. It was very fun, and you know, lots of people out of the course and always cheering, hi, 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 hi.
And as the Ironman 70.3 day comes to an end, Sarah Reinertsen crosses the finish line after a little more than 8 hours. A truly outstanding performance, 1 hour inside the cutoff time. As the first cutoff to qualify for the World Championship in Kona is fast approaching, Ronnie Schilknecht can earn valuable points at the upcoming Ironman Switzerland. Michelle's fourth gained her important Kona points, while Erika Zomo in 28th looks to climb the leaderboard by starting in Zurich. Next, we are at the Ironman Switzerland. We meet six-time defending champion Ronnie Schilknecht and update you on more action from the world of Ironman.